The snow in Yakutsk falls heavily this time of year, but what weighs even more on the people standing in the streets is not the cold, it's the waiting. A long, shivering line stretches down the block, men and women wrapped in bulky coats and blankets as they move inch by inch toward a wooden table piled with frozen meat. Nobody speaks, nobody complains. Their silence says everything. This is the city that supplies Russia with diamonds, gold, and uranium, minerals worth billions. Yet the people who live above all that wealth are now struggling to buy food. Only a few days before these scenes unfolded, Vladimir Putin repeated his familiar line: "Economic growth is being deliberately managed. Inflation is controlled. A recession is nowhere in sight." The moment you stand in this line, those words evaporate. Reality does not match the broadcast. Reality is harsher, colder, and far more dangerous. Travel thousands of kilometers west to a remote village in the Tumen region, and the illusion collapses even further. Roads here look like something torn apart by a forgotten war. Asphalt ripped up, potholes forming trenches, bridges sagging under their own weight. But through this wasteland drives a truck that, against all logic, still works. A rusty pickup covered in dents with massive speakers bolted to the roof. It creeps through the town, blasting patriotic marches loud enough to rattle the windows. The message is the same every day: endure hardship, be loyal, sacrifice for the motherland. In a place where even the streets can't be repaired, the propaganda machine never misses a beat. This is the modern Russian economic model. Everything essential erodes, everything useful collapses, but everything that spreads fear and obedience remains fully funded. This growing crisis finally forced one of the Kremlin's most important voices to break character. Elvira Nabiullina, the long-praised head of the central bank, known for her steady tone and technical precision, spoke words she normally avoids. She admitted that Russia can no longer predict how the avalanche of sanctions will reshape the economy. That short statement meant something very specific. The models have failed. The steering wheel is no longer connected to the tires. The system is moving into darkness with no map. Then she delivered the hardest blow yet. Interest rates will remain at an astonishing 21% all the way through 2026. 21%. A rate so suffocating it turns loans into financial traps. While Putin pours mountains of money into the military, salaries, drones, artillery, and factory contracts, Nabiullina is choking credit until the economy gasps for air. It's the equivalent of flooring the gas while slamming the brakes. No engine survives that, and it didn't. The first major fracture came from within Russia's own defense sector. Alexei Chadv, a director inside the industry, admitted that businesses can no longer access credit and were turning back to barter. Barter, like the early 1990s. Companies swapping materials for food, equipment for fuel, everything except cash because money itself is becoming useless. The Kremlin claims Russia is stable, but barter is what nations do when stability is gone, and outside Russia's borders, the walls continue closing in. What is unfolding now is not a simple economic downturn, it's a structural suffocation, the slow cutting of Russia's connections with the global supply chain, borders tightening, transit blocked, shipments endlessly delayed. Russia is being encircled not by armies but by paperwork, inspections, and logistical choke points. The harshest of all is the Polish border. Once a vital artery for Russian goods, it has become nearly impossible to pass. Trucks are inspected endlessly, held for days or weeks, sometimes turned back entirely. There is a phrase circulating among drivers: "You can cross only if you fly." That border closure struck a critical nerve, because despite decades of propaganda, Russian agriculture heavily depends on Western tools, Dutch seeds, German pesticides, American tractor parts. These are the things that keep Russia's massive farmlands alive. When the border shut, these supplies dried up. Without new parts, perfectly good tractors became hulks of metal. Without Western seeds, entire fields were never planted. Russia's claim of agricultural independence dissolved overnight. But the most shocking blow didn't come from Europe. It came from Kazakhstan, the ally Putin has depended on for years. In a move that stunned Moscow, Kazakhstan quietly imposed limits on Russian goods, slowed grain transit, and added layers of bureaucracy that strangled supply routes. According to official reporting from the Astana Times, payments were rejected, shipments delayed, and freight trains blocked for weeks at a time. Kazakhstan wasn't acting out of hostility, it was acting out of survival. With the risk of Western secondary sanctions rising, staying close to Russia became a liability. Kazakhstan chose to protect itself. Russia paid the price. The consequences hit instantly. Border crossings jammed with thousands of trucks carrying food and critical goods. Inside Russia, supermarket shelves emptied. Items that were once everyday basics became scarce luxuries. Butter, a staple in almost every Russian household, skyrocketed in price. Official numbers show a 25.7% increase nationally, with some regions approaching 40%. In certain stores, butter is now locked in transparent cases like electronics, but the numbers get worse. According to RBC Ukraine, nearly 1 in 4 Russians admits they've cut food spending this year. Milk consumption plummeted from 249 kilograms per person to just 165. Rice sales fell, bread prices rose, potato prices, the backbone of Russian cuisine and survival, exploded by 64%. In some areas, they tripled. When potatoes become expensive, the crisis is no longer theoretical. It's real, it's in the kitchen, it's on the dinner table, and it's happening everywhere. The shortages then feed into a second crisis, panic buying. If shelves are half empty this week, families assume they'll be fully empty next week. So people stockpile whatever they can. That stockpiling accelerates scarcity. A self-reinforcing cycle begins. Prices rise, inventories shrink, fear grows, and each week feels worse than the one before. Meanwhile, another factor is silently tightening the vice: Russia's collapsing workforce. Putin's mobilization sucked over 300,000 skilled workers from factories, farms, construction sites, and transport jobs. Migrant workers from Central Asia fled due to economic instability. The result? Agriculture alone now lacks more than 200,000 workers. Fields go unharvested. Distribution schedules break down. Entire regions function with almost no manpower. Even if Russia had all the seeds and machinery in the world, which it no longer does, it wouldn't have the workers to use them. Then comes the matter almost no Russian official wants to talk about: the grain reserves. These reserves exist for emergencies, to stabilize prices, fill gaps in supply, and ensure that no region starves. But according to multiple regional reports, the reserves are not being released. Instead, they're being saved, or worse, allegedly exported to earn foreign currency. The state prioritizes its earnings over its people's needs, a dangerous repeated mistake in Russian history. Fuel trouble adds yet another layer. Diesel prices rose over 11% this year. Several refineries shut down because they couldn't get parts, many of which used to come from Western suppliers. With subsidies cut, farmers pay more for fuel, transporters pay more for fuel, and consumers absorb the cost. Every kilometer a food truck travels now adds to the price of whatever is inside it. But even when food is ready, and even when there is fuel to move it, Russia's logistics network is breaking apart. The railway system, the backbone of a country that spans 11 time zones, is deteriorating. Freight volumes have been falling for nearly 2 years. Hundreds of thousands of rail cars sit idle. Military cargo always gets priority, pushing civilian deliveries further back. When food and essentials wait at the bottom of the queue, shortages multiply, and just as all of these internal failures collided, Ukraine intensified its strikes. Drones targeted fuel storage facilities, sabotage hit rail lines, explosions destroyed vital infrastructure. These aren't symbolic attacks, they're strategic ones, purposely aimed at the arteries that keep Russia functioning. Every strike deepens the crisis, every disruption adds to the shortages. Taken together, the picture is unmistakable. Russia is drifting toward a winter defined not only by cold but by scarcity, a winter where families stretch food farther than ever, where shelves empty faster than workers can refill them, where prices climb faster than salaries. This is not just an economic failure, it's a social one, a political one, a human one. And the most dangerous part for the Kremlin? Hunger changes the population in ways propaganda cannot control. A hungry citizen does not care about patriotic songs. A starving family does not care about speeches on television. The fear that once kept people silent begins to lose its grip. The question now echoing quietly across households is simple. Why are we starving in a country overflowing with natural wealth? That question is the beginning of every major political shift in Russian history. It's the one the Kremlin fears most, and it's spreading faster than any official can contain. Remember, we are an independent news channel in a world where corruption twists the truth and powerful voices try to silence reality. If you want to support real journalism, unfiltered and fearless, please like and subscribe to support our channel.